Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Development of Philosophy of Education course. I am Philosophy-Sappayani and I am the first reporter under the Indian philosophy. Before I start my discussion, I will give you the topic outline so that you will be guided. C point 1, the ancient philosophy of education in India. Under of it are the following. First, the scholastic period in India. Epistemology, the theory of knowledge. Indian theories of knowledge. C.1.2 is the Vedic philosophy. Under of it are the four Vedas, system of education, and the contribution of the Vedic philosophy. The ancient philosophy of education in India. Philosophy comes from Sanskrit word, or it means that darshana. Darshana talks about or focus on finding the truth and reality. First is the scholastic period, started from 200 AD to 17th century. So this scholastic period known as controversial, argumentative, and loud noises, or it's so noisy during this time. So later on, you will know what are the reasons behind why the scholastic period known from this. The Bhashya. The Bhashya refers to the commentaries upon commentaries of the Indian philosophers from ancient to the modern Indian philosophers. So they give commentaries upon commentaries to each other. We have the first philosopher in India. We have the Badarayana philosophy. In Badarayana philosophy, it focuses on the God-world relationship. The God and the world are real and distinct entities. So this philosophy of Badarayana, it's too wide. That is why it is open to interpretation of different philosophers. Badarayana followed by Sankarakarya. So Sankarakarya give comments or commentaries on the philosophy of Badarayana. So he is known as the Orthodox Brahminical theology. In ancient Indian, the ancient Indian people believe and worship Vishnu and Shiva. However, Sankarakarya philosophy believes that Brahman is the most powerful being. Sankarakarya philosophy or thinking are bold, depth, and subtle speculations. So they are into truth. Sankarakarya philosophy was belong to the oldest commentary. So he was the first to give comments on the philosophy of Badarayana. There are other philosophers also who give commentaries on the philosophy of other Indian philosophers. We have Jaimini. Jaimini believe that, again, because of Badarayana philosophy that is wide, that is why it is open to many interpretation and different perspective of other philosophers. So that is why we have a lot of philosophers who give their comments on that. We have Jaimini or Haimaini philosophy. So he believes that the soul of him who possesses the lower knowledge of Brahman goes after the death to the highest Brahmans. So what does it mean? It means that if you live or during your time on earth, if you are poor or if you have acquired a lower knowledge, then it will be changed after your death. It means during your death or after you're living, you will acquire the highest potential and knowledge of life. That is the philosophy of Jaimini. However, Badari philosophy opposed or give comments on Jaimini philosophy, because in Badari philosophy, he believes that if you die poor, if you live poor, then in the afterlife you are poor. If you during your living, if you acquired lower knowledge, then in your death also you will acquire lower knowledge. So nothing will change in Badari philosophy. But in Asmarathia philosophy, he thinks that he believes that you will remain lower even after death. The soul stands to Brahman. It is neither absolutely different nor absolutely non-different from it. It means that whoever you are, whatever you possess, it belongs to the only one, which is Brahman. In Kasakritsna philosophy, believes that the soul is absolutely non-different from Brahman, which it in some way or other presents itself as the individual soul. Because Kasakritsna believe that long time ago or once upon a time, Brahman disguised himself as an individual person to test the living, or the human being lives on earth. So aside from the four Indian philosophers, there are other or it resulted to three knowledge, or what they call that as vendetta. We have the Shankara Advaita, the Ramanuja or Ramanuja Vishishtadvaita, and we have the Madhva Dvaita. So in Shankara Advaita, it focuses on beliefs the absolute monism. So what is absolute monism? In absolute monism, the view that there is holds that there is only one substance and one only being. It means they believe only in one powerful being. That is in absolute monism. On the other hand, in qualified monism, or the Ramanuja Vishishtadvaita, he believed that the existence of the soul and matter is reliant on Brahman. So, in this qualified monism, that what it refers to, or it depends on the higher or supreme being, because the supreme being will give you the of course will give the life during your living on earth. So they believe on that. That is a qualified monism. In dualism, it refers to opposing concepts. So is it good, is it bad, is there really a God, something like that. That is in dualism, or the Madhva Dvaita. Now my question is, why is it the commentaries made by different philosophers help establish the Indian philosophy? So give or write your answers on the comment section, because this will serve as your participation. And you can also utilize the comment section if you want to give your opinion regarding our topic. Okay? Next is the Indian epistemological theories of knowledge. So, where did it started? So, where is the origin of the theories of knowledge of the Indian philosophers or philosophy? So, they are categorized into 6. We have the pratyaksa, also known as the perception, the anumana or the inference, the sabda, the verbal testimony, the upamana, comparison, The arthapathy is the presupposition or the presumption, and the anupalabdhi or the non-apprehension. So we will discuss this one by one. Pratyaksa is the perception. Please take a look in the picture. Take a look at your screen. So the image below, or the first person said that the bricks or the it is a bricks or a wood. He think that the number of the bricks or the wood is 4. However, other people see it as 3. So it means that we have a different perception, and that perception is the ultimate ground of all other means of knowledge. So we learn from it. So it is a source of cognition as well as a type of true cognition, because we cannot argue how people see things. Again, we see things differently. If that a first person think that the bricks are 4, then that is 4. And then the second person think that the bricks are 3, it means there are 3 bricks. So it is where apprehension, which is produced by the contact of sense of organs of man with something that exists. Now, if they are going to touch or count that object, they will know how many of it. That's the time it generate knowledge. So based on that perception, and we will utilize or we will use our senses, we can identify that perception somehow might true or not. We have the anumana. In English translation, it means inference. So it categorized into 2, the svartanumana and the parathumana. In svartanumana, it means for the sake of oneself. So it means that there is an inference of oneself for your own self. Parathanumana, it's for the sake of others. So there are inference because of other people or for the sake of other people. So in anumana, it makes use of previous knowledge obtained from other sources of knowledge like the perception and the testimony that enables us to explore knowledge. Again, in the first, which is the prakyaksa, that is just our perception. So that is our starting point. But in anumana, you already have that knowledge because of that perception, because you use your senses. Now, let's proceed to svartanumana. Svartanumana is when interference used for oneself. The propositions are not well structured since its primary aim is acquisition of personal knowledge without error. On the other hand, parathanumana, it's well structured because it is used to convince others of the truth. So what is the difference between the two? So the difference between svartanumana and parathanumana is the inference, or it's the goal or your aim. Why you do that thing or why you acquire that knowledge? Because in svartanumana, you don't care. You did not put into consideration the other people, because that is just for your own self, for your own sake. However, in parathanumana, you will think a second before you do it. Okay? Next is the sabda. It's the verbal testimony. Our experience shows that the major part of a person's stock knowledge about the world is acquired through oral or written testimony of others. So let's go back to prehistory. In prehistory, we don't have the written works. What we know from it is that it's the oral history from one mouth to the other mouth. That is why we know what happened before. We know in our culture, we know what is our tradition because of even though we don't have that written text as our guide. That is just a verbal, or that is just an oral testimony of others. That is why we get that knowledge. For example, there is no written text on how to plant like this, or how to give birth, or what are the things that need to prepare, or what are the rituals on it. It just passed on by tongue. So you get that knowledge on how to perform that one because of oral testimony or the verbal testimony. So it is an independent source of knowledge. Why? Why is it called independent source of knowledge? Because through oral testimony, you can't record it. You cannot go back on it to get back the answer, to get know the answer, because it is just an oral history, right? So you need to, what do you call it one? You need to put an effort to know a single information, because again, that information was forwarded tongue to tongue. Next is the different system in India. Give different explanation. Different systems in India give different explanations of sabda. Again, in the ancient philosophy in India, it opens to many interpretations, because the knowledge transfer from one mouth to another mouth is different, right? So we have that different interpretation. We have different perspective. Diba? Kung sa Bisaya pa, ang istorya dagdag bawas. So we don't know the exact information. So dagdag bawas na the information. Next is the upamana or the comparison. It is a knowledge of an object that is determined by comparing it with other similar kinds of objects. So how do you know if it is right, if it is correct? You are going to compare two objects or two things or two person. Okay, tama ba niya akong gibuhat? Mali ba niya akong gibuhat? Okay, masigot akong decisions in life? So that is in upamana. You are going to weigh in two things, if it is right, if it is wrong. Next is the arthropathy or the presupposition or presumption. It is a knowledge which resolves the conflict between the two facts. So it means what to expect. That's in arthropathy. So what to expect, no? If I do this, what would be the consequences? Now, if I will not do it, what would be the consequences? So that is in arthropathy, the conflict between two facts. So you are expecting, or you are seeing things so that you will be guided in making your own decision. Next is the anupalabdhi or the non-apprehension. So immediate knowledge of the non-existence of an object. So it means that in anupalabdhi, you already know what's on that person or what's on that place. You already have that immediate knowledge if that person or if that object lost, something like that. For example, you already know that you put your things on the, it could be on the TV or in the refrigerator, something like that, or on the table. So if your phone, if you will take a look back in your on the table, you will not see your phone. It means you already know. You already have that immediate knowledge if something or someone did not exist. So we have the Vedic philosophy. So Vedic philosophy categorized into two. We have the early Vedic and the late Vedic. So it started from 1500s BC to 600 BC. So the early period, this is where the Rig Veda, the oldest and the most important of the Vedas, The late period is the Samaveda, the Yajurveda, and the Atharva Veda. So these philosophical and spiritual texts explore the nature of reality and the self. Again, Vedic period categorized into two, the early period and the late period. Now let's start with Rig Veda. What is Rig Veda? Yes, Rig Veda is the collection of hymns and praises of the gods. So it consists of 1,028 hymns. It is the oldest and the biggest compilation of human wisdom and considered as the sacred book of India. It also the seeds of India's religious and philosophical development because again, Rig Veda is the collection of hymns and praises to their gods. Rig comes from the form of verses, and the collection of Rig is called the Rig Veda Samhita. Again, Rig Veda, it's the collection of hymns and praises of the gods. Next is the Samaveda. Samaveda is a ritual application. Now take a look at the picture. Okay, this picture, you can see they are doing a ritual to the moon or to the light. So they chanted and do ceremonies. In Samaveda, it consists of verses, prose, and chants. Just again, it is because they are doing a ritual. So it consists of 1,875 verses. Again, Rig Veda is the collection of hymns and praises of the gods. Samaveda, it's the ritual applications. They do chanted and ceremonies. So these sacrifices, so what are the sacrifices? So they just offer, the collection of ritual offering recited by priests. So they are not sacrificing any living, right? They are just sacrificing or offering maybe a seed, a beans, a cow's milk, and the like. So there is no human or people sacrifices in their ritual. So this is a ritual Veda. So it consists of 1,875 poems. Next is the Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda, okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, this is the Yajur Veda. I'm so sorry. The Yajur Veda is the collection of ritual offering recited by the priest. The last one is the Atharva Veda. So it consists of 730 hymns. So this is Atharva is different from the previous three Veda because the Atharva Veda it has a collection of Indian science of medicine. So this Veda has a verses or a text wherein the process on how to cure various physical and mental illness. It has also the prayers for protection from bite of snakes and injurious insects. It is also the study of philosophical ideas, worldly happiness, and the spiritual knowledge. So in Atharva, again, it is different from other Vedas because it talks about social, political, educational, scientific, and agricultural. Now, Vedas into four. Okay? If Vedic categorized into four Vedas, the Vedas categorized into four. We have the Samhitas, refers to collection. Brahmanas are ritualistic books, Arayankas, the meaning of ritual sacrifices, and the Upanishads, ritual to religious ideas. So these Vedas category are just a terms so that you will be guided, so you will not be confused why we are talking about Samhitas, why we are talking about Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads. Again, these are just terminologies in the Vedas. Next is the system of education in the Vedic history. So it also categorized into two, the worldly and the otherworldly. Worldly dealt with the social aspect, while otherworldly related to intellectual pursuit for achieving salvation. So later on, we will know what is the difference between the two. Now, the education system, I'm so sorry, the education system of ancient India started from the ritual called the Upanayana. So what is the Upanayana? In Upanayana ritual, it is where the teacher accept his student. So it started from Upanayana. It's the ritual wherein the teacher will accept his student. Now, it's not the same with the education system that we have right now. We have the inclusive education. In education system in the before, it's not like that. Not all of us can go to school. Not all of us can have that privileges. So I know you already know the caste system. So in Upanayana, only the Brahmins or the Brahmins are consist of the priest and the teachers. So therefore, the teachers in Upanayama will accept after the acceptance of his student. So that's the education started. So the educational system in India before, it's monopolized by the Brahmins or the priests and the teachers because they are the powerful ones. They are respected. The kings, the emperors, and the society. Later on, Satrayas, the warriors and rulers, and the Vaishyas, the farmers, traders, and merchants, later on acquired the education in ancient India also. They already proceed or accepted to do the Upanayana, the ritual wherein the teacher will accept his student. However, the Shudras or the laborers are denied to have a formal education, as well as the Dalits or the outcast. So, the educational system in India before is that different from what we have right now. It's called the Goro Kalam. So what is Goro Kalam? In Goro Kalam, their physical classroom is not in the four corners of the room. So they will have their teaching in the forest, in the wide field. That is in the Goro Kalam. So they are going to what? To travel. They're going to travel from one place to another. Now let's discuss the curriculum. So it has what do you call that one? Requirements or qualifications before you can be accepted by the teachers. So for the Brahmins or the priests and the teachers, you need to age 8 before you will be accepted. For the Satrayas, 11, and for the Vaishyas, 12. Now, what is the importance of the curriculum of the Indian philosophy or the Vedic philosophy? It is because, again, since it is monopolized by the Brahmins, it focus on, or the teachers discuss about logic, philosophy, grammar, pronunciation, astrology. So the curriculum is not theoretical. It's the application to reality. And the education system or the curriculum lasted for only 12 years. So, once you are accepted, the Upanayama, again, the Upanayama is the ritual conducted by the teacher. So, to accept his student. Now, what happened if you will be chosen as a student in the ancient Indian philosophy? Okay, You will be asked or you will be tasked to serve your teacher, to serve your master. So you need to get wood, you need to get water, you need to serve your teacher. You need to respect your teacher. You need to do agriculture as you can see in the picture. You need to cut trees. You need to do agriculture. You need to do what do you call that one? A domestication of animals. You need to beg for food. You need to beg for alms. Okay? Not just for yourself, but for your teacher as well. Now, what is the purpose why begging of alms in ancient education system in education system in India? It's to teach the student to be grateful. To teach the student not to what? Not to boost his ego by begging from the streets for food, water, necessities. So it will teach you to be grateful and to behave in the society, to know when to look back, know when to help. Next one here. So it's open. Again, as I've said, there is no classrooms in educational systems. Again, you are the setting of your class. It's in Gurukulam, in the forest, in the wide field. So, what are the methods of instruction used by the teachers? So, or what is the curriculum? So, before now we have the student-centered, right? But student-centered already happened long years ago. Okay? So, they are student-centered. So, they do recitation. They do recitation because, again, their means of instruction is through oral. So they will discuss, okay, I will give you a topic, you need to recite, then the teacher will ask question, then there will be a debate, a storytelling. Again, there is no classroom teaching. As you go along, as you go journey with your teacher, he will tell you things and you need to study. He will give you mantras. You need to memorize those mantras. Those are the Vedic hymns. The teachers focus on, or they are strict on pronunciation. Again, the educational system are monopolized. Only those categories, Brahmins, Katra, and Vadya, are allowed to have an education or to have a teacher. So they are strict because they are going to teach you logic, grammar, philosophy, mathematics. So they are focused also in the research as well as reflection. So what are the student-teachers, the teacher-students relationship? Okay, the teacher-students relationship is that they respect their teacher. They follow the teacher. What the teacher said, the student will follow. Okay, the teacher is the role model in the society. He was respected by the king, the emperors, the society, the army, everyone. That is why there is a lot or high expectation for the teachers during that time, because you need to be prim and proper. You need not to commit mistakes. So what are the contribution of the Vedic philosophy? So I just cited here few contribution of Vedic philosophy. If you listen to my discussion, I know you will get this. Number one is the developing leadership qualities, right? Because the teacher will what? Okay, will give you tasks to do things. For example, the teacher will give you the mantras and you need to memorize this. The teacher will ask you to do this, you need to follow this. You need to have that leadership qualities. Second one is the management principles and concepts. By doing things that in accordance with the teaching. Problem solving techniques with ease and calm mind, because again, the teacher, as you join you with him, they will give you a questions or a quiz, and you need to give your own answer. They will give logic. So understanding mind and its complexity. So if you listen to my discussion, the teacher always give part of their instruction is by giving reflection or essay. Next is the sharpens intellect and memory. So the teacher will give the mantras, the Vedic mantras, or the hymn. They are going to memorize it. Under seeing and managing ego. As I've discussed earlier, the student are subject to beg alms on the street, not just for themselves, but for the teacher. Again, to manage their ego, how low they can go. How low they can go. How can they control their behavior? Next is understanding soul spiritually and by scientific means. So they do research and development, environmental management, because they do the agriculture, the mathematics, the grammar. Again, they are very strict on pronunciation because the Vedas, the collections, need to be articulated. Need to be what? Okay, it need to be speak what is the correct pronunciation so that there will be no other interpretation of it. And the social sciences, because they are going to the society, they will interact or immerse in the society, even though they are in the forest, but also there are times that they will go to the society. So these are 17 references that I get. So feel free to open this one. I will just give a copy of my PPT if you will ask for it. Now, if you have questions, feel free to raise that question, or you can just type your questions on the comment section. So again, I am Philosophy-Sappayani, and I am the first reporter under Indian philosophy. So thank you everyone, and have a great morning.